you are doing today? Welcome back to my channel. Guys, today I'm going to show you this recipe of my akara. Yes, akara. I do have akara in my collection, but today I'm going to show you my reloaded version. You know, akara is a very sensitive recipe. It's very, very difficult to make, and if you don't know what you're doing, you just waste your beans and waste your time. So today I'm going to show you how you can make your akara to taste the way you want it to taste. Because if you don't know how to do it, it's either the akara will soak oil or it will fry on the outside and not fry on the inside. So if you want to know how to fry your perfect akara, I want you to come into this kitchen, guys, and let's make it happen. Come on, guys, let's go. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I make my akara. Yes, this is how I make it. It's very simple. You know, these are the ingredients I'm going to be using today to make this akara. Like I told you before, when you're making akara, the most important thing is the beans. Make sure you pick the beans, pick all the sands off, all the tiny, tiny stones away, or else your akara is going to be sandy. So pick your akara very well. Pick your beans very well. You know, that's the first step in making akara. Pick the beans and make sure you know what you're doing, or else your akara is going to be fried on the outside and will not fry on the inside. So akara is very tricky, but if you follow the steps, you go bake it. So the first thing is, after picking up the sand and stones from your beans, you pour some water and let it sit in that water for about 5 minutes, and then you start to wash it just the way you see me do it here. And as long as you keep doing what you're doing and taking out the water like I'm doing here, all the chaff will come out. Some people like to use the store peeled beans, but peeling the beans doesn't really take much time. 5 to 10 minutes your beans is peeled, no matter the quantity of beans you're working with. After peeling and taking out all the skin, what I do is I soak my beans with water and let it sit for a few hours. This particular one, I left it overnight. I just finished, I covered it, and I left it there because this was very late in the night. I think this was around 10 p.m. So I left it there, and then I'm going to throw away this chaff and then start to prep the onions. I did this prepping overnight, so I did it that night. I cut the onions and pepper and everything at night. Then I start frying the akara the next morning. So cutting your onions, you really have to be very, very creative. Cut it into very, very tiny bits. Because, guys, our goal here is to get a fluffy looking akara. So if you don't cut your onions properly, the akara will never be fluffy when you pour it inside the akara, inside the beans. So make sure you cut your onions into very tiny bits. Go over it with a knife like I'm doing here, and until it's very, very fluffy. Right after then, I'm going to be using this pepper. This is habanero pepper. You can use more pepper if you want. I'm frying a lot of akara today, about 100 pieces. So I don't want a lot of pepper. That's why I'm using only 2. Normally, I would have used like 6 or 7 pepper. But today, since my children are going to be eating the akara with me, I just want to, minimize the pepper. So here, I'm putting the beans into the blender. I cannot blend it at once. When you're blending, make sure you just pour the beans halfway, because you want the beans to really blend. If you pour it full to fill up the blender, it's not going to really blend well. And just add tiny bit of water. Sometimes I don't even add water, but because this beans is very hard, despite the fact that I soaked it overnight, it's still very hard. So that's why I added that tiny bit of water. And after blending, I'm scooping it into a much bigger container. You can see the beans I have here is a lot. It's a lot of beans. Scoop everything out like that, and then you start to add your onions. You see the onions, how tiny they are. You add your onions, and then you use your spoon to mix it. So here is the onions, and then I'm adding the pepper, and then I'm going to mix everything up. Mix it very well. Add some salt. Be careful with the salt. And then I'm adding Knorr cube. Here I have just 1 Knorr cube. One Knorr cube has 2 cubes in it. So I'm just using the 2 cubes in it. That's it. And then I'm going to mix this thoroughly. After mixing for a while, I'm going to use my hand mixer to mix it more, because I really want to fluff it up. So I want to show you how I get this fluffy texture of akara. So mix it up a little bit, and then you grab your hand mixer and you continue mixing. So because the beans is just too much, I had to put it, separate, divide it into 2. And then here I'm mixing. I'm mixing with my hand mixer. You know, guys, you really have to mix this. I did it for about 5 to almost 7 minutes. You know, on the mixer is on high, so I'm mixing. I mixed for about 7 minutes, and the beans became very fluffy. The beans is gonna double in size if you really mix it very well. It's gonna double in size, and it's gonna look very soft. Very fluffy, and it's going to actually look like whipped cream. You see what I mean when I start to clean this. See, it's looking like whipped cream. That's the texture you want. With this texture, your akara will never soak oil. Never. I guarantee you that. So you mix it thoroughly, and then you're going to put some oil in the pot. With akara, put enough oil. You don't want to fry with small oil. Put enough oil to really allow the akara to fry. Put a sieve on the side, and then put a napkin under it just to collect any extra oil. You don't want oil on the akara. And then you start frying. Can you see how this akara is sitting on the oil? How the beans is sitting on the oil? It's not dropping down. It's not that the oil is not hot. The oil is very hot, but the akara is sitting on the oil because I already fluffed it up. So, excuse me. So I already fluffed it up, and that made it very light and easy to fry, and it's gonna come out really nice. Each time I make akara, it comes out nice. I make akara at least every other month, because once I make some, I have it for about a month. So it's like once every 2 months I must have akara in the house. So you fluff it up, and make sure, one thing to avoid it being fried on the outside and not in the inside is to allow it to fry on both sides. Let it fry very well on one side before you flip the other side. And once you notice that your akara is getting golden in color, just like this, make sure you check by poking your skewer, to see if the akara is fried. Once you realize that it has really fried in the inside, it's cooked on the inside, you start to scoop it out. And it doesn't take much time. Like I said, I'm making about 100 pieces of akara, so it's going to be a lot of frying for me here, but I'm not going to show you everything. But the whole idea is that the akara came out very fluffy, very nice, very beautiful. The color is so nice, and the taste is out of this world. Guys, akara doesn't take much time to do. The only thing is that you have to know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, you get your perfect akara every time you want to make it. It doesn't take much time, and it doesn't take much stress. So this akara, I actually served it with pap. You can serve your akara with custard. You can serve it with anything. You can even eat it with bread. Yes, agege bread and akara. That's a wonderful combination. I used to do that, but now I don't eat a lot of bread anymore, so I miss that. But if you can still eat bread, you can just, eat it with agege bread sometimes. What I do these days is just you eat it with either pap. I don't do a lot of custards anymore too. So basically, I just eat it with a pap or drink gari with it. That's how I enjoy my akara. Hot afternoon like this, when I really want to relax, I get me few of them, rewarm it, and then just enjoy it. So this is how akara is made. I'm going to show you how I make the pap, and this is me prepping it. This is how I bag them. This has like 36 in each bag. I have like 4 bags, so I bag them like this, and I put them in the freezer. So to make the pap, for the young ones who don't know how to do it, you scoop out your ogi powder. It's sold in the store, and you add your sugar. That's my sugar, and you add very little water. Excuse me again. You add little water. You don't want to add too much water, because if you do, your pap is going to come out really watery. So just add a little bit of water, mix it until every lump is dissolved. Make sure there's no lump in there. Check your spoon, make sure there's no lump on it or sticking anywhere. And once you have achieved that, you put clean drinking water on the stove. Once the water is boiled, you pour it into your akara, into your pap, in a circular motion. You don't want to pour it in one part. Just pour it in a circular motion and start to mix it immediately. You don't want to take time. You don't want this to develop any lumps. So you mix it very well. Be fast with the mixing so that it doesn't develop any lump. And that's how my akamu is made. We call it akamu or pap or whatever you call it in your language. That's how it's made. Like I said, you can top it up with milk. That is what I do every time. I top it up with milk and I mix it. This comes out really, really nice, guys. I wish you can do this very, very often. It saves you time from trying to get food. Sometimes when you want to cook and you don't have the time, you can grab some akara and eat and fill your tummy with that before you can have time to cook. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I made my akara this weekend. Thank you so much for watching me, guys. I truly appreciate you. I really, really do. Thank you so much. Until next time, it's ciao, ciao, bon appetit, and see you later. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Yeah, 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 yeah. Come to mama's. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come to mama's kitchen.